champion down, folks. And there it was. New Zealand were playing tight, nervous softball. This was a crunch game. They had to win. And Wellington Sportsman of the Year. And Gary, did you ever imagine you'd hear that? Wellington Sportsman of the Year being international softballer Mark Sorensen shows what a captain's knock is all about.
Well, Meredith threw a big pitch like this at him. Sorensen, it was the first pitch he had, the second pitch he had faced, and look at where it goes. That fence out there is a long way out, and it goes over the second fence. That is a big, big hit. It went into the distant outfield. And how far is that fence out there, Dane?
70 metres.
70 metres. That's an awful long way for it to go. Tim Wall with 2 outs. Still a runner at third base, and the New Zealanders looking as though they're now in with a chance to stop any scoring that might come from the Americans. This is Wall at bat, Tim Wall. White at the pitching mound.
Well, I tell you what, if White can strike out this side with the first runner on, oh, and is he doing it, then that's going to bind this New Zealand team. And quite frankly, I don't think I would say New Zealand with that one run up, if White can strike out the side after starting so badly in this inning, you will find the team really gel.
Inside, high, Wall ducking under it. Still a runner at third base. Ball 2, strike 1. And the pressure, it has gone off the Kiwis a fraction, but they are not out of this yet.
Well, you say that, but Sorensen just managed to catch that ball. I mean, if that was another wild pitch, he'd be 1-all. I think that's why he's going out there. That was really a very wild throw then. I mean, it was over the head of the batter.
Let's take another look and just see how close it was to escaping the glove of Sorensen. And this is the pitch from White. Now, have a look at how wild it is. It's high, very inside. And look at Sorensen's glove. He just grabs it in time. Back live, Tim Wall, top of the second innings. 1 runner at third base. Number 14, Michael White. Pitching to Tim Wall. 2 outs. Outside again. Ball 2, strike 2. More anxious moments await the New Zealand team as they go for the 3rd out of this innings and get themselves out of the woods if they can. White pitching to Wall.
Oh, wild, here he comes Beard, he is safe home. Oh, mother dear. Well, it certainly is justice. You cannot spray the ball around like Michael White's been doing and expect to get out of the innings. Look at the Americans, they are so relieved.
Righto, White with the pitch, and this is the one that really got, oh look, it deserved to go to the fence because Wall ducked under it, and it was a second successive pitch he'd had to duck away from. Here comes the fast-running Bruce Beard. There wasn't any tension at home plate because he was there with a lot of time to spare, really. 1-all the score. Steve Carrion is the batter. Bruce Beard at first base. There's 1 out. We're in the top of the 4th innings. Slower pitch from White. Lets it go, does Carrion. A soft breeze wafts across this lovely park here in Christchurch at the Cuthbert Green Stadium. This will be a dodgy one. They get him though. Well played by Simon Kerr to pick it up and get it across to Johansson. So the New Zealand team doing it right in the field.
Well, I've got to say this. You know, the infield for me in New Zealand hasn't been complete for years. Now, what we've got is a very inexperienced outfield at the moment because they're young, with the exception of first base, but they are quick. This is a very exciting infield. They just do not seem to be the gaps that are normally there when we watch New Zealand play. We've created sort of fielders in the past, like with Joseph in the World Series before last. We made him into a third baseman, and we've been adequate. But we haven't really had the zippity-doo that we got out there at the moment.
Well, it's there with Rice at third, Johansson at short, and Kerr at second. It's a very lively infield at the moment, and they would be as quick as any you would find anywhere in the world. Rick Minton batting against Michael White with 2 outs. There's Steve Carrion coming quickly off first base for the Americans, attempting to have a look at second anyway to see if there's any gaps for him to jump into. There are not.
Yeah, I thought the steal was on. They have a great fake steal. Here he goes, here he goes.
Whoa.
Now, that's smart because he faked the steal once, and that time he just got away early, and a bad throw from Sorensen. Good catch by Kerr.
Yeah,
actually.
he got up a long way. He's not a big man by any stage, and there's safe at second base is Steve Kerrion. And here's his steal. He really digs it in and gets there. And watch how high Kerr goes to grab hold of this. He really leaps high in the air. There he goes. That's a long way up. Well played, America.
But that's what I mean. We got some athletic infield there at the moment. They're young, and I guess we have to accept the odd blue. But boy, oh boy, it's hard to find the gaps.
Minton facing White. Clobbers it into the outfield. That should score a run. Round third base comes Kerrion and scores the run to go 2 runs to 1 for the USA. And they've played the game in an aggressive style, done it how they should. And Rick Minton puts back to ball to score from second base Kerrion, who was off on the pitch. That's him leaving, number 8, Kerrion. And he really digs it in as he goes off the off picture there. But then in comes Nichols, makes the throw to home, but it won't be in time, as you'll see, because all the time in the world was there for Kerrion to scamper home. This is Bruce Beard, and he is a softballer, an athlete of great quality. Freddie Wyatt is batting for New Zealand.
But what I'm saying is I know the third bag that they normally have has a pinched nerve in his shoulder, and I don't know if we've completely exploited that.
I don't know that there's too much to exploit about Beard.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he is a champ, but still, it's not his normal position as far as I know it.
Freddie Wyatt at bat, 1 out. Bottom half, the closing stages of the 5th innings we're into. Ball.
Yeah, I think it's time for heroes now, and Wyatt's a long ball hitter. He's a young man who's very good at a lot of sport, and he can hit the long ball and softball, and be a great time to do it, Freddie.
Ball 3, strike 1. So, all right, let's see if this man, Fred Wyatt, can get on base. Plays for the Miramar Club. Big hit.
There it is, going. It is a tie ball game. Thank you very much, Freddie Wyatt, the nuggety little outfielder. Ties up the ball game, and believe me, you can hear the sighs of relief. I don't think that New Zealand team has taken a deep breath for the last half hour. But Freddie Wyatt, the Miramar Flash, deposits the ball right over the left field fence. And look at that man, give him a banana. Look at that, and it's tied up 2-all.
Righto. At first base is Perinara. The batter is Dean Rice. Attempting the running bunt. Was 1 out. 2-all the score. And we have a brand new ball game.
And Gary, that's fair enough. Look, you play the United States at anything, and you're going to meet competitors who are there to do one thing. That's win. That's all they live for. It's winning is everything. So if we can gain some kind of advantage against them, you better believe they'd be doing the same.
Dean Rice, the batter, slaps at it, misses, struck out. 2nd out of the 5th innings. And records strikeout number 5, I think it is, for Peter Meredith. He recorded it with this attempted running hit by Dean Rice. Nowhere near that outside dropping delivery.
No, Rice not doing his job. That was even a ball. I think it was low and outside, and he had no right to even swing it in the first place. That's not what's needed. At softball, when you get anyone on, you must lift your game. You must move the ball at this level.
I just wonder whether or not Perinara might be, this is number 5 out there, which is Simon Kerr. He's yet another slap hitter. Makes one wonder, though, whether or not you might take Perinara out. I'm not quite sure just how quick he is round the bases. Being a man from Auckland, I don't see an awful lot of him. Righto, we're back into the action.
I could see the hit and run on here. I could see something. There he goes. There's a hit and run. And here it is. They take, safe. Now that's fair enough. In that case, I'm pretty darn sure he was out. But he called the last one wrong, so why the hell shouldn't he call this one wrong?
Okay, There it is, put down by Kerr. He scampers. Let's have a look at first base and see how close it is. Again, it's lobbed over
Steps on
from
his
Meredith.
foot. Watch this. No, he's my deepest apology, my dear old thing. He missed the base with his foot there.
All right.
Good call, man in blue. Apologies from me.
Kerr is on first base. At second base is Thomas Perinara. We'll take another look at it. Time permits us to do it. Here's Kerr, and here's the man who's got all the speed anyone would ever want. Meredith picks up, puts the lob across to Clark. Clark's there, but he wasn't on the base.
Now, that's what for me, the most exciting softballer in New Zealand this year was Simon Kerr. At the Nationals, he played a blinder. He's fought his way into this, and at the big level, it's fair to say Simon has not played well, but I think it's just a matter of confidence. After the year he's had, a few good games under his belt, and I think he's a match winner for the future.
Mark Sorensen into bat, the man who already in this game has hit one home run, the man who in the last turn at bat flew out to the outfield, and if Sorensen can sail one out to the outfield and find a gap, or indeed put it over the fence, we can all go home and have a cup of tea.
And Gary, if you got to say, if you were reading the Mark Sorensen book in 3 years to come, this looks like it could be chapter number 7.
Sorensen still at bat. Runners on first and second. 2 outs. Action time arrives in Christchurch. Meredith to Sorensen.
It's in, it's in. That'll bounce in, it's up against the fence. Here comes run number 1. Here comes run number 2. Mark Sorensen. No, he shouldn't have set him. He shouldn't have set him. He's out cold. Why in heaven's name, when you have one catcher with a bit of a shoulder injury, John Joyce, do you try to kill him? But anyway, Mark Sorensen, as I say, this is chapter 7 in one of the best sporting books we'll ever read in this country in about 5 years' time. Here's the captain's knock, a late swing, a terrible pitch, a low outside pitch that Sorensen decides for some reason or other to go after, totally hits it into the right field, wrong field. You can't blame the right fielder. Everything is terrific here till his coach, John Joyce, decides to send him on a suicide mission home. But Mark Sorensen has made the game 4-2, and talk about Wellington's Sportsman of the Year. John Gallagher, forget it for the next 3.
Marshall Seifert in his more expansive mood. New Zealand won the game 4-2, tying up the series at 1-1. Highlights of the second game in the doubleheader shortly, and won the first of today's doubleheader in Christchurch, coming storming back to take a 4-2 win. So this would be a crucial game. It's the second of today's doubleheader game in Christchurch. We joined it at the top of the 4th, USA batting with loaded bases, New Zealand pitcher Chub Tangaroa.
Bruce Beard is up to bat, and this is a danger man to have in at a time like this too. So New Zealand in a real hole. Top of the 4th innings, Bruce Beard, who the last time up was walked, so does not count as a turn at bat when you win a walk. Beard facing
Right, Hutt City United's player coach, great softball player, is played here all season, so there's no sore aches and pains on Big Butch Beard. It's bases loaded, it's none out, and it's all on the big shoulders of Tangaroa now to get a strikeout.
Well, Tangaroa on his way to that strikeout with that very good pitch, a rising delivery. So the base is occupied, as Marshall would say, 3 ducks on the pond. And just waiting for the action to come from the swinging arm of Tangaroa or the swinging bat of Bruce Beard. Which way will it go? Tangaroa. Ooh, very close to the strike zone. Ball 1, strike 2.
Nice change of pace then by Chubb, and just a little high and outside. Beard didn't know what to do. Definitely in 2 minds. Now, okay, there we see now an interesting discussion from Johansson and Sorensen at the moment. Johansson is, I think, saying something about Bruce Beard, maybe. Maybe he's seen him. Or maybe they're deciding to go for the double play.
Righto.
Allow one run
home
in.
the third, or whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll never know at this moment anyway just what the conversation was about. Tangaroa ready to pitch to Beard. The bases are loaded with no outs. Ball lowered inside. Now, it's a good idea for him to keep the ball downhill.
I think what we've seen then is with Johansson said, don't go outside the beard. Try and jam him, because that one was inside and low.
Tangaroa.
So is that.
Oh, yeah, I'll say. Now he's in trouble with a ball 3, strike 2. Ball 3, strike 2. And so on this next pitch, something will happen in a pretty dramatic way, unless it's a foul ball. So let's see how we go. Tangaroa with loaded bases, pitching to Bruce Beard. No outs. Tangaroa throws it, strikes him out.
Now that was fascinating. I think Johansson had said, don't go outside the beard, jam him. So the next two were inside and low, and here we see nice drop ball, and that's a big, big strikeout. Liz Chubb smiling, but he can't smile for too long because it's only one down and it's still bases loaded.
And it's Ted Hicks up to bat, who's the designated hitter for the Americans, so a man who has a reputation of being able to hit the ball. It's been a game that hasn't really had a lot of action flowing from it in the first 3.5 innings, but here we are in the top of the 4th with 1 out. The bases are still loaded. Tangaroa pitches to Hicks. Strike 1. Hicks doesn't complain. He knows it's right there in the strike zone. It might well have been the one to hit because it was a fat-looking pitch in that. It didn't have a lot of fizz on it. It didn't move about in the strike zone. It might have been the one to go for. Back to the action. Ted Hicks into the batter's box. Tangaroa with a pitch. Ball. Low and inside. 1-1 the call.
Well, here's Hicks, 5 times All-American. There's Chubb. Here's Hicks. He was out here a few years back with ADM, and we remember him as a terrific player. Ooh, he got the outside corner. Great pitch from Chubb. Chubb is digging it in here. As I say, it's been a bit of a yawn fest for the first 3, but everyone's on the end of their seats now. Bases loaded, 1 down, 5 times All-American. Hicks into bat, Tangaroa on the mound.
Ball 1, strike 2 the call. If Tangaroa can record a strikeout here, he'll do it well. Foul ball, and Hicks getting the bat round very quickly then. And a great challenge, a little duel going on here, which has all of the interest. There's Tangaroa's study of concentration. Hicks knowing that he's got to get bat to ball and preferably move it out into the outfield. And Tangaroa moving all around the place. There's 1 out, loaded bases. Tangaroa to Hicks. Strikes him out.
Oh, boy. That is really exciting, and the Americans won't like this. They've narrowed their options down. There's no kamikaze bunt or anything like it. Look at this pitch from Tangaroa. It is a honey. That is a terrific low inside drop. He's got 2 down. I mean, you would have bet the family jewels that with bases loaded and none down, the Americans were going to score, but now they've narrowed their options completely now. They cannot bunt and force in that run. They must hit away, and Tangaroa is starting to dig.
He's recorded back-to-back strikeouts, and now the first he's recorded in the game. Steve Carrion at bat. Tangaroa with the pitch. Oh, hit the hit. That'll score 2 runs at least. Well, there it is. The first run scores. The second comes in as well. So 2 runs score for the Americans. Jim Clark is in first, followed by Brian Rothrock. And round to second base goes Steve Carrion, doing it really nicely. But meanwhile, a 2-run lead enjoyed by the Americans. And this is how it happened. The big hit that sails out to Michael Nichols in centre outfield. He gets down and smothers it and then whips around with the throw into home. But meanwhile, the 2-run score 2-0. Well, 4 deliberate balls outside of the strike zone will be thrown to Sorensen, and there's the target being offered by DeFazio for pitcher Scott to throw to so that they walk him. And, you know, the crowd can complain, Marshall, but who wouldn't be doing it?
Yeah, but there's nothing about a little injustice to get us South Islanders going. They've been pretty quiet about it now, but all you politicians up north, you listen well. This is the way we feel down here.
Ball 3 and then ball 4. So Sorensen goes to first. The bases are loaded. A deliberate walk issued by Scott. In comes Don Tricker. And he's the man who's capable also of putting it out of the park. He's the designated hitter. And with loaded bases, it's the first offensive action we have seen from the New Zealand team in the game so far. Well, the first mention worthy of any... The first action worthy of any great mention anyway.
Well,
against Tricker. Off you go, Marsh.
I've thought for the last few hours that this was going to be the man to win a ball game for New Zealand, and he's got his chance now. That was outside. He must claim he's claimed he swung, did he? Well, it must have been really close. It looked outside to me. But anyway, here's concentration personified. New Zealand's designated hitter fouls it off. Now he's in big trouble. 2 strikes against Don. But he's a very experienced softball, very tough, single-minded. As we saw, he just about won the Lion Red all by himself last weekend. And boy, if he could cap it off with this. Good eye, almost through. DeFazio has to go down and block it. Okay, a wild pitch here would be exciting, but what would really be exciting is a solid hit by Tricker to tie the ball game up, and that's what it would take. It's bases loaded, 2 outs. So the runners are all be going, and let's see. Outside. Now it's getting interesting. That's ball 2, strike 2. A walk would score a run. What are you at home betting here? I still would back Don Tricker.
Ball 3, strike 2. Loaded bases. New Zealand have not yet scored. They trail this game by 2-0. Scott to Tricker. Strikes him out with a stand-up strikeout. And Tricker complains and can complain all he likes, but umpire England has departed the scene and says you're struck out. And we'll have another look at it. And how close was it? Well, who would know? It looked to be a bit inside, but I don't know. I think that probably it was certainly too close to let go. USA 2, New Zealand 0. The golden opportunity turns to clay. Rick Minton in the 7th innings. It's the top half of the 7th innings. Oh, that's a slow one. And a little goodie thrown there by Chubb Tangaroa. Ball 1 the call. It's just outside. Oh, that's a better one. Oh, no, he called that first one a strike. No, he didn't. No, I was right the first time. Ball 1, strike 1.
Well, I've got to say, the end of that last innings will stop any claims of bias by the United States in the day's activity.
Yeah. Strike, clips the outside corner for ball 1, strike 2. Top of the 7th inning, so but one opportunity remains for New Zealand to get into the scoring action to tie things up. Strikes him out. Rick Minton has struck out and records strikeout number 4 for Chubb Tangaroa. And I'm not one to throw the sponge in. There's the strikeout pitch, but Marshall, I would say that the game's a spent cause.
Yeah, well, there's positive sides. We won't hear any claims for neutral umpires.
DeFazio. Strike 1. There's a nice slow pitch. That is a good pitch that Chubb Tangaroa throws. The fast arm action, clutching the ball and letting it go later than he otherwise would. The commitment to the swing by DeFazio, and the ball isn't there. Ball inside, 1-1.
Well, DeFazio is definitely not an informed batsman. That's what I mean. So, you know, Chubb should get a strikeout here.
I think he almost concussed himself, whacking himself on the head like that.
Yeah, well, he hasn't been a happy man. He just hasn't seen the ball all that well. And there you say that, and there's a long ball, and it is over the fence. DeFazio, after striking out, I think, 5 times last night, we're saying it should be another strikeout here to Tangaroa. He feeds him a fat one, and DeFazio says, bye-bye, baby. Over the center fin here, is how he does it. Just gives it a casual ride. Mike Nichols climbs the wall in vain. Ooh, actually, Michael almost caught that. Just past his glove. Wouldn't that have been something?
What a hit. 3-0, and USA have the game in their pocket.
Coverage of the international softball was presented in a... Presents international softball, New Zealand versus the USA.
Leading off for New Zealand will be third base Dean Rice, and on deck, Jason Barrow.
Ball 2, strike 2, 1 out. We're in the bottom of the first innings. There's no score between the USA and New Zealand. Schultz to Nichols.
Hey, wild pitch, runners advance. Now that was a break. I was just about to say we don't want a strikeout here. Now it's all on. It's a full count. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Runners on second and third. Schultz will be thinking, well, I've got first base over. I don't want to give him anything to hit. As we see here, this rise ball just keeps on going right over the top of Tim Wall. So at the same time, first base is open. The Yanks aren't that concerned if they throw a walk here. Oh, gee whiz. Let's see that on replay.
Called a strikeout, and it was a dodgy one to let go. Nichols is inclined to let that third strike go this season. He's been doing it quite often. Righto, that makes it the second out. So Nichols is out with a stand-up strikeout, as they say. It records the first strikeout of the game for Steve Schultz, and in comes Murray McLean, the New Zealand first baseman. Not great batting form from him in the last season.
Ooh, another wild pitch down into the dirt. Wall just scooped that one out of the dirt. Now remember, if it's wild again, it's a run, and there's a lot of speed, and Dean Rice at third base, so a wild pitch here would be 1-0. New Zealand do need to score a run here. There's a lot of tension, and whoever gets that first run is going to be a fair bit ahead in this game. Now, with McLean as our most consistent batter, with the exception of Sorensen, was a captain on a New Zealand squad, I think, about 3 years ago. Has got a lot of experience. Ooh, seemed like the same place. That outside corner.
But McLean doesn't complain too much, so I guess it must have been near enough.
Yeah, I think it's smart for Schultz to stay on the outside, because it is a bit of a lottery at the moment. Some are balls and some are strikes.
Schultz to McLean. Again, it's a bouncer, and very well picked up by Wall, the American catcher, because Schultz really is firing them all over the place. And Wall is really struggling to grab it. Have a look at this one. He throws in the bouncer, and you can see Wall just love the ball and no more. Murray McLean facing the pitching of Schultz. He gets walked. Well, 3 walks have now been given up by Schultz. He loads the bases up. Don Tricker is into bat, and here's the pitch that gave McLean the walk, was way outside. The swing is brought back by McLean. He's off to first base. The bases are loaded, and it's conference time before Don Tricker, this fellow here, faces the pitching. Yeah, well, I mean, look at that, Marshall. This is surprising. No hits from 9 turns at bat, and yet at the end of the Lion Red series up in Auckland a week ago, he was hitting everything that came in.
He was magnificent up there, and I've been saying, you know, this will be the second day that I say I back Don, and I certainly do. I think he's a class act, and bases loaded. This is just his meat. I hope we see a little smile here. I love it when he grins back at the pitcher.
Yep, he's a cool customer, is Don Tricker.
There's a good hit! Good hit! Don Tricker delivers! That's what he's in the game for, and a DH! 1, 2, 3-run score! New Zealand are up 3-0 against the World Championships, and Don Tricker brings home the bacon!
Righto, here's Don Tricker, the man who's had more hits than Kenny Rogers this year. He blasts it to the fence. There are runners coming in all directions, and 3 of them score. Dean Rice, Mark Sorensen, and Murray McLean. Tricker holds up at second base. 3 runs have been scored. Well done, New Zealand. This is Carrion at bat. There's 1 out in the top half of the second innings. New Zealand leading the USA by 3 runs to 0. So a little more pressure goes on Jimmy Seaman with the call ball. 3 strike, 2 and 1 out. The batter is Steve Carrion, the team's shortstop, the Americans.
Good hit, good hit. Oh, Colassi! Oh, what a beautiful out by Eddie Colassi, who's had a groin strain, playing in pain, as we say. Makes a magnificent dive to his left. Watch, this ball is lined. This was a hit. No doubt, this was a hit until Eddie decides to dive right on the glove, and that's a vital out. Once again, New Zealand is giving Seaman, their pitcher, the message. Come on, son, we want you to win this game. The batters are batting and the fielders are fielding.
What an out. That's the way to play the game. New Zealand remain 3 up against the Americans as we go into the bottom half of the 4th innings. Schultz to Kalassi. Again, a ball 2. Schultz, who really had lost his way right from the beginning of this game. I don't know that he's ever got absolutely back on track. He's been a runner on base every time, every innings, I mean.
Well, you can see, though, that he's staying very inside on Eddie. I mean, everyone would have a book on all of these players, and as you can see, he's staying well inside. He is cramping Eddie.
Now it's outside and a long way outside, saying out of the strike zone. What you say is right, Marshall. He's not giving the New Zealanders much to hit at until he gets into trouble. Then he has to come into the strike zone. That's when they get at him. Kalassi hits the first strike that arrives along.
Yeah, I feel now that it's not the nerves that we had sensed with New Zealand in that first game there yesterday. Then they seemed to go to sleep in the second one. And in the first innings here, we saw a tightness in their overall play. Now with that 3-run lead, I bet they're just itching to get into that batter's box. And there's a walk by Schultz. As I say, it's the scent of the wounded animal at the moment. They sense that Schultz just is not 100% as we see here. I mean, we're talking about arguably the fastest pitcher in the world at the moment, and we're not seeing that today.
Well, he's given up 6 walks, and that really tells the story of his pitching this afternoon. And in comes Freddie Wyatt, who's capable of putting the ball over the fence. Shakes to bunt, lets it go, ball 1. Kalassi at first. This is Wyatt, number 22.
Well, that's what I'd say about Fred. I bet he jumped out of bed this morning. As soon as his eyes were open, he leapt out of that bed and said, let me get down to that ballpark. I'm keen. Here's a good bunt. They'll have to hurry. No one's... Yes! Yes! Called safe. Freddie Wyatt does it all now. Okay. That's a dipsy-doodle bunt. But, boy, when it works, it's spectacular. Watch this. Leaves it for the last moment. Bangs it down into the dirt. The pitcher knew he had to hurry. It's very close here. It's very close.
And Marshall, also have a look at the way that when it's over... Okay, we'll have a look on this one then as the replay goes through. We'll see how when the out is missed by Corcoran at first base, a lot of players would complain and say I was there, but Corcoran doesn't even raise an eyebrow. He knew very well his foot was off the base and he was safe. So Wyatt goes to first base, across to second goes Kalassi, and one would have thought he would have been off with a replacement runner in for Kalassi, but obviously his fitness is such that they're happy to leave him there. So Kalassi at second, Wyatt at first. In comes Kerry Johansson, the number 9 batter for the New Zealanders.
All right, now we've seen he's gone back now to bat left-handed because they'll be after the infield slap or bunt. There it is. It's a good bunt, a very good bunt, and there's no play anywhere. That's what pressure is all about. And even if you're world champion, you can still fall asleep. And that's what happened there. Johansson squared for once, no running bunt. And look at this, there is just no one at home on first base. The USA, and Schultz is shaking his head at the moment because this is not world-class stuff. When you're down by 3 against an emerging team, and we are, I mean, we might be second in the world, but we're a young side. And we've just kept the pressure on, and we saw the result of it there. We knocked, and for the USA, there was no one home.
The batters 7, 8, and 9 are usually regarded as the bunnies in the team. Well, there you see out on the bases, Kalassi at 7, Wyatt at 8, and Johansson at 9. In comes Dean Rice, the leadoff batter for New Zealand. He bats at number 1. And really is a man who moves the ball, starts the action, keeps it all bubbling along, and that's what he'll be looking to do now. The American outfield comes in shallow, so too does the infield. It's a real pressure infield, outfield. Look at them all. They all look as though they're a bunch of silly mid-ons out there because all of them are inside the diamond. The outfield are almost within touching distance of the infield. The bases are loaded. We're in the bottom half of the 4th innings. There are no outs. Kerry Johansson, the lead-off batter for the Kiwis, at bat against the pitching of Steve Schultz. New Zealand ahead 3-0. Schultz pitches. Johansson lets it go. Strike. Oh.
Almost got Eddie.
Yeah, hey, but good play by the Americans. Wall fired the ball back to Beard because Kalassi was coming down the base path in an awful hurry. But he scampered back, Kalassi. Back we come. Schultz pitching to Dean Rice.
Actually, I've got to say here at the moment, as a guy who spent a lot of time as lead-off batter, that it's a compliment to young Dean that he's in there batting at the moment. With none down and bases loaded, you'd love to bring in a power batter so you get that fly ball. So it's quite a compliment at the moment in the strength of Dean Rice that he is in there batting and there isn't a substitute batter. Let's see if he can do what he should, given that his coach is backing him.
Schultz ready to pitch to Dean Rice with the bases loaded. Chops it into the outfield. It drops in there all right. They get the out at home. Well played, America. They did it as they should, because out at centre outfield, Boyer moved in. It looked as though it was going to be caught, and so Kalassi had to hang back at third base. Boyer scoops it up, and look how he does it. Meanwhile, Dean Rice is doing his job rather nicely. He can't put it into the deep outfield. Watch Boyer do the scoop, picks it up, sees Kalassi going home, throws off his wrong foot. At catcher Wall takes the out at home, and that makes it 1 out. Well played, the USA.
Poor old Eddie, eh? Right in the middle of the rock and the hard place there. He was halfway down from 3. He knew if the ball was caught, he could be doubled off third bag, and that's where you would go. You would go for the lead runner. But what does this bring on? The young man, here he is in his first international series. Bases, and it's a long hit! It's a long hit! Jason Farrell! Byers back! Oh, no! Here comes a double play. Look, we would have loved Bruce Beard to have dropped that ball. Now, there was a tag up and a run scored then. Farrow actually did his job, and believe me, every Kiwi who's ever played the game of softball, watch this now, would have loved this Scooby-Doo catch to be dropped. He goes back, tries to bucket it. We would have loved you to have dropped it, but he didn't. Stayed on there. The runner had tagged up to 3. Farrow is credited with a run batted in. It's New Zealand 4, USA 0.
Bit of a conference in there in the infield. I'm wondering whether or not there are any changes to be made or whatever. And up to bat comes Mark Sorensen, the man who's been walked twice, and they're having a little conference out there with 2 runners on the bases. What'll we do, fellas? Walk him? Shall we have a go at him? And maybe we're 4 runs down, so let's start playing a more open game and be a little bit bold, if you like. Sorensen up to bat. Sorensen smiling away because the first pitch that was thrown by Schultz was actually in the strike zone, and it was a real lolly of a pitch that Schultz threw. Sorensen let it go, and the umpire actually had to deliberate for a second as to whether or not he's going to call it a strike. However, meanwhile, Sorensen gets the walk. This will load the bases up. It's the 3rd walk that Sorensen has been given, so they keep him well away from the batting action. Meanwhile, Michael Nichols is the next man in. He's struck out once, and he's been taken by the infield once.
Michael might make them pay for that. I mean, it's a little bit embarrassing to see the guy in front of you get walked when you're a top international battler like Nichols is. Let's just see if he makes the Americans pay. Whoa!
Schultz nearly made himself pay because he bounced the first one in, and only fine catching by Wall managed to keep the ball away from the fence and allow the man on 3 to score. Ball outside.
We've got trouble right here in River City because a walk will mean a run. Schultz knows that. Nichols knows that. This next one should be a strike. What'll Mike do with it?
Righto, now you don't often at this level of the game see a runner walked home. Schultz should have enough control to get a strike in, and he doesn't. He's walked a run in, and that puts New Zealand in what I'd have to say is an unassailable lead now. With 5 runs having been scored, it makes New Zealand look really good, and the walk count goes up because it's now 8 walks that have been issued by Schultz. 5-0 the score. The bases are still loaded. Murray McLean is at bat now. Nichols is at first. Sorensen is at second. And Dean Rice is at third. The run has scored. Let's it go, McLean.
Well, Steve Schultz from Blenheim, Marlborough, South Island, New Zealand, has got himself in a big, deep hole here. And America haven't got a lot of backup at the moment. They won't want to use Scott. They want to save Scott for that vital 5th game, which in effect looks like it's going to be a final, because each team probably will have won 2. There it is. Schultz just cannot find the strike zone. Now, the thing is, will he feed Murray McLean a fat one? And if he does, what'll Murray do with it? Whoa. Now, I think we're going to see the American coach out here, or there goes the catcher out anyway to discuss it with Steve. I mean, we are looking at one of the top 5 throwers in the world and arguably the fastest. And I bet it's the only time in his softball career, even back to playing in Marlborough, that he ever walked home 2 runners back to back.
6 runs scored by New Zealand in the bottom of the 4th innings. Ball inside. I think Schultz is almost starting to appeal to the umpire to give me a break. Just call a strike just to break the monotony. Ball 2. Schultz can't believe it. He sags. And he's probably saying to himself, well, that had to be near enough. Give us a break up.
Yeah, well, it was pretty close. I was surprised Don had left it. But then again, if you can get home the easy way, why bother?
Ball 3, okay. We're looking at the number of balls that have been thrown by Schultz. And you're talking about, what is it, 4 consecutive walks we're looking at. He gets a strike. The crowd applauds. Way to go, Schultz, they say. You've got a strike in at last. Schultz ready again to pitch to Tricker, loaded bases.
Oh, no! Whoa.
Strikes it out. So Tricker is out with the bases loaded. And Tricker is an unhappy man. I think he knows really that it was near enough and he should have had a go at it. There's Schultz back in, and here's how the strikeout happened. Meanwhile, in the innings, that's close enough. There's a little bit outside perhaps, but too close to let go. The 3-run score, and so it's 6 runs to 0.
And that's pretty much the way it stayed. So New Zealand have levelled the series now.
Oh, goodness.
Jason Farrow is at bat, looking to advance Rice off first base. Now, Farrow has had a sensational introduction to international softball. He was only just named a couple of weeks ago. Oh, that's a bad start for him, though. Bit of an argument there as to who's going to grab it. Bruce Beard eventually does. Farrow with a pop-up. He's going to have to learn to do that better, Marshall.
Well, that's everyone who follows softball knows that's what I'm really hot on. Now, that first strike, I think, was a little outside, but there's no reason. That's the 2nd straight time that Farrow's been asked to do a job, which is to sacrifice the runner down to 2. He's very fast. He's left-handed. He's a good bunter. He just did not do his job.
Well, apart from that, he did have a fine introduction to international play. Yesterday, batting the ball, doing it again this morning to score one of the runs. So he really has had a fine intro to the sport at this level. Mark Sorensen is the batter in with a runner on first and 1 down.
Line shot down to right field. He did it again. All right, the runner's around to 3. First and third, Mark Sorensen, another captain's knock. Once again, of course, they pitched to him outside. And once again, I think it was a low outside shot. Watch this. No, just low, not outside, but stroked into right field. Beautiful shot from Sorensen. First and third, 1 down, USA in trouble.
Mike Nichols will be the new batter in. So they have a bit of a conference out there in the middle of the diamond saying, what'll we do? Shall we take Sorensen if he tries to go to second? We've got to be conscious of the fact that Rice is at third base. Well, or will we load the bases up and give Michael Nichols a walk and bring in Murray McLean and then Don Tricker? It's a dodgy time for the Americans.
Well, there are lots of options on here at the moment. New Zealand will want an early lead, so with the speed of Dean Rice at 2, we could even see the last time up, Mike Nichols laid down a perfect bunt. Now, if he were to do that again, it would score Rice. There's a line shot, right field. Real shot down the right field line. A lot of the crowd had to duck, but that could narrow the option. He's only got one more strike to decide whether or not to lay down the bunt, which would mean a forced run home, and New Zealand in the lead by 1.
Michael Nichols, the batter. Runners on first and third. Bottom of the first innings. Nichols lets it go, called a ball. And we won't be wanting a walk from Scott. The Americans will not want a walk. In the earlier game, Schultz gave more walks than Norman Reed ever had.
Hey?
Nichols still a batter's box. Inside. It's before your time, Marshall.
My brain is racing ahead. Do you remember that guy was in his 90s and he wrote books from Otago's? Names popped up in my head. Reed, that's right. A.W. Reed. There it is, and it is! Scores a run. Good out. Good out by the second baseman. A very unusual out because he was diving forward and he just tagged 2 for the force out. But that is doing your job. Here's Nichols. As we see here from his upright stance, he bangs the ball down in. The second baseman has to dive for it, keeps on going and makes the force out at 2. But the big news is that Mike Nichols scores this runner, Dean Rice. And in the final of the final, each team's won 2. New Zealand are up 1 run to zip.
USA trailing the Kiwi. Farrow is the first batter in New Zealand's 4th turn at bat.
They'll have to hurry.
They will too, and they do. Yep, he's out at first base, and getting it across quickly from third was Bruce Beard because Farrow was scampering.
Actually, what we saw was the ball was hit down in the dirt and went right into the sun. So Beard, looking up, suddenly, if you saw his head go back, because all he saw was sunlight, and he had his head back so far, and look, he was only out by a half a step there. Good out by Beard at 3, because that ball was right into the sun.
Mark Sorensen to the batter's box. That's a bit out of character for Sorensen, and doesn't he run it out?
Oh, wow. The crowd love it. Big Mark Sorensen says, well, try this one on for size, fellas. Look at this bunt right down first base. They had to let it go in hopes it would go foul. He couldn't. Scoops it underhand. Sorensen safe down at 1, and that is magic. Look at that for a bunt. His bat was completely flat and level, kids, if you're watching. Great bunt. Great player.
When he got to first base, there's a big fat smile on his face, too. Okay, here comes Michael Nichols. It's a high outside pitch, ball 1. There's Sorensen. He gets on base no matter which way.
Now, we could really use a bit of insurance here. 1-0, I don't think is going to beat America. Let's see if we can make it 2.
Nichols bounces a high one. Out it goes to Beard, across to first base. Sorensen along to second. So once again, Michael Nichols doing his job by ensuring that the runners get advanced. And here we get it again with Nichols bouncing it out to Beard. Flashes it across the diamond. Sorensen, meanwhile, across to second. And in will come Murray McLean to bat for New Zealand with a runner at second.
Right, well, here he is, McLean, over the years, just about our most consistent batter, Murray. A rugby player of some note. Let's see what he can do here. There it is, it's through, here comes Sorensen, here comes the throw, he is safe, he is safe. DeFazio is pleading his case. I thought he went under the tag myself. DeFazio is furious. Scott is trying to stand in between the catcher and the referee at the moment there. Let's see now. Mark Sorensen backs himself here. He knows we need an insurance run. He's around third. Here's the arm. Here comes the slide. He is safe. Just safe. Look at that. DeFazio is wrong.
Righto. Well, we see it on the replay, and Katja Fazio can complain all he likes, but the replay showed him to be safe. 2-0, New Zealand leading the USA.
Oh, it's line. Oh, but foul down the right field line. That one rocketed off the bat. He was looking for 2-1 there. He really nailed that, but foul down the right field line. Look at this. Great body weight behind this. Mash, but foul.
Well, we've seen all the way through how capable this guy is of hitting the ball. He really is a big batter. He swings lustily at everything that's around the strike zone area. He's a man of immense concentration in the batter's box. How will he now handle the pitching of Michael White? He's the first batter of the 5th innings. Fouls it off for a strike. Michael White, who has been dominant on the pitching mound, and so far in the game there's only been one runner on base against New Zealand, or against Michael White more particularly. But swings it out into left field. Moving under it is Wyatt, but it's over the fence, and Wyatt was prepared to go through the fence to get it.
And Wyatt probably could, actually. Yeah, they had both gone over the fence on this. Now, we see the wind just take that ball. There's Wyatt up, shielding his eyes from the sun. Going, and Wyatt is gone over the fence.
Back to Mitch Matthew in the batter's box. White ready with the pitch. 2 strikes on Monthly. Top of the 5th innings.
That's a hit. That's a good hit. Wyatt dives for it. He's got big troubles now because this man can motor. We're going to see an inside the park home run. Here comes the throw, and he is safe home. Inside the park home run. Well done, America.
Now have a look at this. Here's Monthly with his hit to the outfield. It was never really on for Wyatt to take the catch, and he dived for it rather than playing the percentages and making sure that he just held Monthly down to a maximum of 2 bases. He took the dive to try and stop him. The big throw came back in, but there was no way they're going to nail Monthly. He slides in, doesn't need to, but he scores the Americans' first run. 2 runs to 1 the score. But still the drama continues with runners on second and first. 1 out and 2-1 ahead, New Zealand over the Americans. And this the finale of the summer of 88-89.
Right, now we can see at the moment Beard is going short handle. He is looking just to hit the ball through the infield and hopefully score that first run.
White pitches.
Ooh, change up again.
1-2.
Just low, gutsy pitching here from Michael White. Bruce Beard, great batter, short handle, just wants to hit it through that infield.
Pressure on White and on Bruce Beard, the batter.
And he does it. That's line shot, and it's through. It's through. Here comes 1 run. Here comes the 2nd run. USA are up by 1 on a great hit from Bruce Beard. The captain for Hut City United delivers, and the USA all of a sudden, and believe me, this crowd was sure we were here for a New Zealand win, but the Yanks have gone ahead 3-2 on an exciting hit from Bruce Beard. And there we see it. Good weight behind the bat and over the head of Freddie Wyatt into the fence. Wyatt picks the ball up. It's too late. There's run number 2 coming home. Well, no, there is run number 2, and the Yanks are ahead.
New Zealand behind by the 1 run. The lead changing in that last innings when the Americans pumped 2 runs in to jump to a 1-run lead. Scott pitching to White.
Good hit, it's through! It's through! Kerr will hold it up at 2. Good hit from Freddie Wyatt. The little Miramar powerhouse does it again. Lines the ball, as we'll see here, right between short and third base. Good hit. Okay, runners on first and second. It's 1 out, and we're getting a pinch batter.
He'll need those calisthenics to warm himself up, because I can tell you that at Cuthbert's Green here in Christchchurch, the southeasterly, which has come across the ground, has had a chilling effect on players and spectators and umpires. Everyone's a bit cold, but no one seems to be noticing it because we're so much into this game. 3 runs to 2 the score. The USA ahead of New Zealand. Perinara into the batter's box. Runners on second and first. Ball outside.
Right, well, it's one down. It's quite a tall order for Thomas, but he spent our summer over with one of the top squads in the United States, so he has the experience. Good eye, that's ball two, a walk will load him. Scott is a little upset about it, but it looked like a ball to me.
He's complained all day, Scott, and really he's had a fine game on the mound. In fact, I've seen him play now for a lot of this summer. It's the best game I've seen him pitch. I think his teammates are saying, righto, let's settle down a bit in there. That's Rick Minton telling him from second base to get his nerves back together again. And here we have Thomas Perinara with his chance to put his name in the record book. Scott with the pitch to Perinara.
It's a high fly ball. It's going out. Kerr will go to three. There goes Kerr. Here comes the throw. He holds up. He holds up. Didn't want to try that arm on Boyer. It would have been close, but definitely no time for the faint-hearted. It's a long fly ball out to Boyer. Makes the catch, knows the runner's going to go. Brought it down, and the result is it's 2 outs. And all the pressure on Dean Rice.
How will he go with 2 outs and 2 runners on the bases? Scott throws the pitch. Rice lets it go for ball 1. Simon Kerr, the flashy runner, is at second base. That's him in the background of your picture, flinging his arms around. Scott knowing that he's 1 out away from winning this Winfield series, and what a win it'll be because they've had to come from behind. Scott shakes off one signal from catcher to Fazio. Rice.
Oh, it's a high fly ball. It'll be caught. It'll be caught. The Yanks are cheering already, and there it is. The USA come from behind. They're not the world champions for nothing. They are elated out there. They were beat every way but upside down in this game. Came back with a terrific 7th inning explosion. Took the game from the USA side, but take nothing away from us. The Americans know in 4 years' time, New Zealand are going to be some team to beat.